Every week, I burn a few hours combing through hundreds of Steam pages so you don't have to. And this week, I was hunting for one specific thing: games launching soon that are also completely free. These are the ones that stood out to me, a hand picked mix of genres with zero cost to try. So let's get into my picks. 1. Garisani Detective Agency. Let's kick things off with something I did not expect to love this much. Garisani Detective Agency is a story driven, real time co op deduction game built for exactly two people. And here's the hook: one of you plays a detective, the other plays his ghost sister. Set in 1990s Korea, back in the analog era of pagers and payphones, you take cases from both the living and the dead. That two angle setup is the whole point. Each of you gathers clues from a different perspective, and you have to piece the truth together side by side. Think about that for a second. A mystery where half the evidence sits with your partner. It's the kind of concept that only works if you've got someone willing to actually talk it out with you. If you and a friend love slow burn detective stories, this one is practically begging to be played together. 2. Vexbound. Then there's Vexbound, and the pitch alone sold me. A tactical puzzle battler RPG where, and I'm quoting here, one slide can chain into a storm. You line up your troops, raise walls, summon elites and champions, and try to break the enemy hero before they do it to you. What makes this stand out is how much game is stuffed into a free release. There's a full story campaign if you want to go solo, AI duels to sharpen up on, private rooms for messing around with friends, and ranked online PvP once you think you're actually good. That's a whole lot of ways to play one system. I love a battler where a single, well placed move snowballs into something huge, and that combo chain energy is exactly what Vexbound is chasing. If you like your strategy fast, flashy, and satisfying, get this on the radar. 3. Dinerz Prologue. Craving something a little lower stakes? Dinerz Prologue lets you run your own diner, and honestly, it looks like the perfect wind down game. You're cooking juicy burgers, crisping up fries, pouring cold sodas, and racing to keep your hungry guests happy. But it's not just cooking. You're managing orders, serving customers, clearing tables, washing dishes, keeping the whole place spotless while the tickets keep piling up. And as you earn, you unlock fresh ingredients to expand the menu, so the diner slowly grows into something that's actually yours. There's a very specific satisfaction in a clean, well run kitchen, right? That little hit when every table's served and everything sparkles. This is the prologue, so it's a taste rather than the full meal, but it's a free, no pressure way to see if the loop clicks for you. Cozy Sim fans, this is an easy one to try. 4. Heartstop Tour. Now, if you're in the mood for something soft, Heartstop Tour is a short and sweet otome visual novel where you spend 4 days with, in the game's own words, two boy failures. Your job is to figure out which one steals your heart. There's Julian, the lost tourist with pure golden retriever energy, and Riku, the quietly intense guy who is, for reasons I fully support, wearing a bear suit. That contrast alone tells you the vibe here: light, charming, a little goofy, easy to sink into on a slow evening. It's pitched as short and sweet, so this isn't a 100-hour commitment. It's a cozy little romance you can actually finish in one sitting. And sometimes that's exactly what you want. If visual novels are your comfort food, or you're just curious to dip a toe in, a free 4-day fling with two lovable disasters is a pretty low risk way to start. 5. The Lure. Alright, lights down for this one. The Lure follows John, a detective hunting for a missing colleague, except he finds himself trapped in a loop where reality keeps rewriting itself around him. You explore eerie environments, pick through clues, and slowly try to uncover the truth behind the disappearance. It's a third person psychological horror piece, and it's that shifting reality hook that really gets under my skin. When the space around you won't hold still, when you can't trust that the room you just left is the same room when you come back, that's a very particular flavor of dread. No cheap jump scare promises here. Just that creeping wrongness that psychological horror does best. I'll be honest, this is one I'd want to play with the lights on and a friend on call. If slow, unsettling mysteries are your thing, The Lure is absolutely worth stepping into. 6. Catto Pew Pew. Okay, hard tonal shift, shake it off. Catto Pew Pew is a physics based shooter that is basically engineered for chaos. The goal? Shoot your opponents clean into the sky and claim the win. That's it. That's the dream. What tips it from fun into absolute mayhem is the proximity chat. So you're hearing your enemies react as they get launched into orbit. And that's the kind of feature that turns an ordinary match into a highlight reel. Physics based shooters live and die on how silly the ragdolls get, and everything about this screams pure competitive nonsense in the best possible way. This is a lobby with friends game, the sort you fire up expecting to laugh more than you win. Is it deep? Probably not. Is it going to produce clips you send to the group chat at 1 a.m.? Almost certainly. Grab some friends and go launch each other into the stratosphere. 7. Young Homer, A Storyteller's Odyssey. Here's a concept that genuinely made me grin. Young Homer, A Storyteller's Odyssey puts you alongside a young Homer, and your job is to help him write the Odyssey itself. The way it works, you collect customizable cards and assemble them into your own unique story. And every single playthrough spits out a different epic poem, so no two runs give you the same tale. I love that. It turns writing one of the oldest stories ever told into a little creative toy you get to shuffle and remix however you like. The question the game keeps asking is a fun one. What will your Odyssey actually look like? It's casual, it's playful, and it's got that make your own legend charm that's really hard to resist. If you like games that hand you a set of pieces and let your imagination do the heavy lifting, this is a delightful, free little thing to spend an afternoon with. 8. I Missed the Apocalypse. Picture this. Humanity has fallen under alien control. Every single mind enslaved. Except yours. In I Missed the Apocalypse, you're the one person left immune, and now it's on you to fight back. That means gathering resources, building robots, and fortifying your base against night assaults that get bigger and nastier every time the sun goes down. The end goal? Grow strong enough to strike back at the purple fortress looming over a place called Neo-Roma. I really like that framing, the lone survivor slowly turning fear into firepower, building by day, digging in for a desperate stand by night. It's got that satisfying build up and hold the line loop, where each night you're sweating over whether your walls and bots are actually ready. There's a real arc to it too, from scared and alone to marching on the enemy's doorstep. If you like action strategy with a survival crunch, this free one deserves a spot on your list. 9. Calamity Cait. This next pick is short, sharp, and honestly kind of intriguing just from the description. Calamity Cait is a visual novel about the wonders and horrors of workplace romance. And that phrasing does a lot of work, doesn't it? Wonders and horrors. Anyone who's ever caught feelings for a coworker knows exactly how close those two things live. The summary keeps its cards close, so I won't pretend to know every beat, but the tone it's selling is clear. A story that finds both the sweet and the messy in office dating. I've got a soft spot for visual novels that lean into everyday, relatable awkwardness instead of grand fantasy, and workplace romance is such fertile, uncomfortable ground for exactly that. Since it's free, there's basically no reason not to click in and see where its particular brand of romantic disaster takes you. Sometimes the small, character-driven ones surprise you the most. 10. Mobsteria Rise. If you've ever wanted to build a criminal empire from absolutely nothing, Mobsteria Rise has your number. You start with empty pockets and a pickpocket's nerve, and from there you claw your way up one racket at a time. It's an atmospheric pixel art idle game, so a lot of it is about steady growth. training your skills, running your crew, and carefully managing the heat as the law starts paying attention. And here's the part I like. When the cops finally close in, you burn the whole thing down and rise again, stronger than before. That reset and rebuild loop gives it a proper rise and fall rhythm instead of just numbers ticking up forever. Pixel art mood does a lot of heavy lifting too, giving the whole thing a grimy back alley flavor. If idle games with a bit of character and a criminal streak sound good, this is a slick, free one to leave running. 11. Knights vs. Aliens. Okay, this title alone earned a spot. Knights vs. Aliens lets you command knights, aliens, and other, I'm quoting again, historically dubious nations in a free real-time tower conquest game. It's actually rebuilt from a 2009 iPad original, which is a fun bit of retro DNA. The gameplay is all about momentum. You grow your armies, capture towers across the map, and try to outmaneuver an adaptive AI that adjusts to whatever you're doing. There are 30 campaign levels to push through, so there's real meat here, not just a quick novelty. I love a strategy game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and pitting knights against aliens across 30 stages is exactly the kind of cheerful absurdity I'm here for. If you want tower conquest tactics with a grin baked in, plus a smart opponent to actually test you, give this free throwback a proper look. 12. Line Go Up. Ever wanted to be a spectacularly reckless CEO? Line Go Up hands you the keys. You play as a corporate boss buying up companies and hiring executives to build out your deck. Then you test your luck in the free market and pray the line, well, goes up. Here's the twist that makes it interesting. Bad gambles push you into tough choices during the random events that pop up along the way. And if you fail to meet expectations, you get fired. Straight up canned. That threat hanging over every decision gives the whole thing a nervy, one more quarter kind of tension. It's a deck building strategy game dressed up in the language of high finance, and there's something wickedly funny about sweating over a spreadsheet empire that could implode at any second. If you like risk versus reward games where greed and survival pull against each other, this free one will absolutely sink its hooks in. 13. Stories to Tell: The Stoneville Incident. This one comes with a story behind the story. The Stoneville incident is part of a psychological horror series where, and this is the wild part, each installment is based on an actual dream or nightmare the developer had, a developer who's just 16 years old. Their own tagline calls it a game you wouldn't want to miss, and honestly, that personal, straight from a nightmare origin is exactly what makes me curious. There's something uniquely unsettling about horror pulled directly out of someone's subconscious, because dream logic doesn't play by the usual rules, and that unpredictability is where real dread tends to live. I always want to root for a young solo dev putting their own fears on screen, and horror is such a raw genre to build in. The summary keeps the specifics vague, which frankly suits the vibe. If you like eerie, personal indie horror and want to support someone right at the start, this free one is worth a look. 14. Vanya Online: Idle MMORPG. For the idle grinders and MMO lifers out there, Vanya Online might just eat your next few months. It's a dark, free-to-play idle MMORPG built around endless progression, and it makes some big promises. No level cap, no skill cap, and no account resets. In other words, whatever you build, you keep, forever. There are separate PvP and non-PvP worlds depending on how spicy you want your experience, plus a player-driven economy and regular events to keep the world moving. That combination of idle convenience and full MMO social systems is a genuinely appealing pitch, the kind of thing you leave running in the background while it quietly grows. The dark tone gives it a bit of edge over the usual bright fantasy grinders too. If you love watching numbers climb and settling into a persistent online world for the long haul, this is a free rabbit hole worth falling into. 15. Dracula 2. We're going gothic for a second. Dracula 2 is pitched as a sequel to Bram Stoker's beloved novel, and the setup is a neat little inversion. Dracula is trapped, and it's your job to help him escape, or else he never will. So instead of hunting the Count, you're on his side this time. The summary plays it pretty minimal, so I'm not going to oversell specifics I can't back up. But that premise alone has a fun, classic horror turned on its head flavor to it. There's something charming about a small indie taking one of the most famous villains in all of literature and building a scrappy little escape story around him. It's listed as an RPG and it's completely free, so it's an easy, low commitment click if the gothic angle appeals to you. If you've got a soft spot for Dracula in any form, this one is worth a curious look. 16. ChronoRewind, The Great Ritual. And to round out this week's picks, ChronoRewind, The Great Ritual. This is a strategic idle game where you play the Archmage General, and your one job is to channel mana into the Great Ritual while fierce enemies hammer at the kingdom. The tension is all in the balancing act. You're juggling defense, magical development, recruiting new mages, and keeping that ritual channeling all at once, all pulling at the same pool of attention. Do it well and you save the kingdom. Get greedy or spread yourself too thin and you lead it straight to its doom. I really like idle games that are actually about tough resource decisions rather than just passive waiting, and that constant push and pull between defending now and investing for later is a smart little hook. If you want a strategy-flavored idle game with real stakes and a fantasy coat of paint, this free one is a great note to end on. That's my shortlist for the week. If any of these grabbed you, do them a favor and drop them on your wish list. That's what actually helps these small devs get noticed. And if you want me to keep sifting through the Steam pile so you don't have to, hit subscribe and I'll see you next week with a fresh batch.